hosts. The
There
greatest
you
two hosts you've ever seen on this show. Me, Scarra, world-renowned jungler for Delta Fox. I'm also with Josh.
Dude, Delta Fox is dead. Get over it.
Dude,
all right?
come on. It's what can't die can never die. What's
you
that?
clearly don't watch Game of
I don't
Thrones.
watch Game of Thrones. Holy shit! I butchered that.
Oh my god.
Anyways, I'm joined by Xell, Josh, whatever you like to call him, anime extraordinaire.
That's me.
That's him.
You introduced me, so I didn't need to say anything.
Anyways, welcome to this show. This show's purpose is to wait for Mark Zimmerman to come from the analyst desk. And until we do, we kind of just talk about whatever we feel like.
Yep, that's pretty much it. After that 5-game series between CLG and NV, which was interesting to say the least.
Very clean. I rarely saw mistakes. Honestly, it seemed like I was watching two SKTs play each other at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
Come on.
Okay. Anyways,
come on.
CLG won, which is good because CLG fans. I meant to wear my CLG shirt today, and
I did too, but
I couldn't find it. Actually,
I forgot.
So I'm a better. Well, I don't know if I'm a better. CLG fan.
Maybe it's because I knew they would win, so they wouldn't need my support. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I don't know where. So the story about where I got my CLG shirt, by the way, was they had a box of CLG shirts outside their house and they just gave them away. And this was years ago, so I was like, oh, sick. This was before I worked in esports. So I was just a kawaii little
teeny bopper
analyst
or something.
Just a fan, I think had I started working for Team Curse at that time? I'm not sure. Anyways,
back to your old production days, the
Yeah.
dark days of being production on Curse.
Oh my god. Being a one-man production crew for Team Chris was
the greatest
impossible
experience of all time. He remembers it fondly.
Anyways, what do you want to talk about today? You have anything?
One of the things I want to talk about. So, what time is it right now? It is 6:47 p.m. PST.
Yep.
Why did LCS end this late? One, they went to 5-game series because COG can't end series the way you'd expect. And two, it got delayed 2 hours because EU LCS went to 5 games in 40-minute fashions every game. So I want to talk about that. What do you think about that? Do you think Riot should have their separate stream and always start exactly when NA's at 12? Or do you think waiting is okay, it's not a big deal?
I get why they wait for EU LCS, right? Because I think in general the Western audience of NA EU, there's a lot of crossover there. So I feel like by having those two things overlap, you're definitely cannibalizing viewers. I think that's my perception of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they try it where it's more like NA and say Korea. Obviously they don't broadcast at the same time. I don't know. I don't actually know what the best solution is, but it seemed like the reason why they did it the way they're doing now is because they don't want to cannibalize each other's viewers.
Right.
Or maybe they're just scared that you won't have any viewers.
No, I mean, for me, I just feel bad for the people there, at the studio who wait an extra 2 hours. They're like, I can't wait to watch my favorite team, COG and Envy, play against each other. And they're just waiting 2 hours for teams that they probably didn't really want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks, especially for the people who are there, right? I don't know. Haven't been to LCS in so long now. Do they just sit in the crowd watching EU LCS?
They just sit. They just wait.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I wanted to bring this topic up because I wanted to compare it to another esport that does it differently. So, you guys all know how Riot does it. Okay, if you're in NA, you wait for EU to finish, and then you start. So, I was talking to my housemates about this, and Mendo Kusai, which is a big weeb and also a big Overwatch DPS player who's potentially going to be in the Overwatch League next season, told me what Overwatch does for contenders. So they do it the exact opposite way that you would expect. So while in here, the second team waits for the first, over in Overwatch contenders, the second team waits for the first, but they can start early. So there was a situation where I think Immortals got penalized because I think it was EU. What happened was EU finished early because they started an hour early. And NA, if they finish early, you as the NA team have to be there ready to go right after right after the team finishes. And if you're not, you get penalized. So while we do complain about this over here in League of Legends, I don't think the Overwatch system is any better. In fact, I think that creates its own problems.
Wait, isn't that the same exact system?
No, because what happens is if in League of Legends, if EU ends early, so before 12.
Oh, that's true. They just start at 12.
They just start at 12 because that's normal. Mm-hmm. But for the contenders, apparently that's not the case. At least not for the
That's actually so dumb. Wait, that's so dumb. Why would they do that?
That's what I thought, but I mean, that's what happened season 0, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Overwatch in general, they're going to go through a lot of growing pains, same as what League of Legends did. I mean, early on, there were so many problems. Are you kidding me? At the World Finals or whatever, there was that like 2-hour delay. You don't hear about that stuff anymore. But like back in the day, like that was like not super uncommon to have like really long delays at international tournaments.
Especially early in League's career or like lifespan, when all the tournaments were not in LA. Yeah. They're all over the place.
All over there.
And they're hosted by your favorite production company, ESL.
Ooh, yes. I love ESL.
That was like the situation where if a game started at 5, you could go eat, watch a movie, come in at around 7:30, and probably be there right on time.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
Overwatch. We have an ad break. Okay, you can continue.
Oh my god, Overwatch is going to have to go through those problems as well. Although
ad break. Okay, yeah, here we go.
To be fair, they have a lot more things that they can learn from now. Because I think a lot of other esports have done it and failed. So they can learn from other games' failures, and hopefully Blizzard can create an esport that doesn't fail in a lot of similar ways.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too, is that one of the nice things about having League of Legends gone through all this stuff is that, yeah, like you said, now we have a, what, you know, quote unquote, successful league might look like. They can take a lot of those lessons, and I'm sure Blizzard has poached a couple of people who used to work at Riot, and they're kind of like, oh, now we know how this stuff works.
I mean, yeah, I'm 100%. I know ex-Rioters work there, and like people from Blizzard work in Riot too, and then like Twitch has people working everywhere, and the scene itself has just a bunch of like people that always go around in similar circles.
I will say though that generally speaking, even though that Blizzard has had very successful games in esports,
their esports has sucked.
Yeah, right. Like
I know you're related to Riot. You can't say that first. I will say it first. Okay. So let's go through all their esports. Okay. Yeah. Let's start at the very beginning.
Let's start with the top one, right?
StarCraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So obviously Korea had their own thing. Riot was just like, dude, let me get a piece of that, dude. I want some of that pie. And then because of that, it ended up dying for the most part. Okay, move forward. StarCraft
puts a hand in the cookie jar and all the cookies just melt.
Yeah, StarCraft 2 comes around. They like, from my perspective, they just completely mess up region locking. Yeah, like just to the extreme where like everyone's interest in StarCraft starts dying. The game itself, the base game, is not good. Yeah, and then trying to build with that. Just ended up failing as well. Okay, cool. Move on from there. World of Warcraft 3v3 Arena. Honestly, if you've ever played World of Warcraft Arena, it's one of the funnest things to play, period. Watching it is like, it's super difficult. And it could have been something, because right now, like, that's essentially Battle Right, and all those types of games are built off of what WoW Arena started with. Right. I think Blizzard did a really poor job with that. I know they did a poor job with that. So moving on from there, Heroes of the Storm then happened, which I think actually... Well, first, it started off really terribly. Yeah. But at the moment, I actually think they have a semi-successful league that's consistent. Yeah. So, like, I actually think if we're looking at all the Blizzard esports that do well, you might actually just point out HOTS. And that's the one I least expected. Yeah. Because they have their own league. They have, like, what is their MSI. Like, I think it's called Mid-Season Brawl, which also did...
MSB.
MSB. Yeah, which also did fairly successful. It's just, like, the game itself is not very... big. Yeah. So, like, for instance, the last mid-season brawl, the top Chinese team publicly stated this is going to be our last tournament, and that's what caused a lot of controversy because they were very good. Oh, okay. They left the scene to play a mobile game because it was making so much more money at the time. They were just like, this is our last tournament together. We're going to go play this mobile game instead as a team. And I was just like, Oh, that's brutal, man. If like SKT just randomly was just like, you know what? I love League of Legends. I love winning, but you know,
dude, Fire Emblem Heroes. Is
Fire Emblem. I gotta play this game, and so yeah, like
that's so ridiculous.
That felt pretty bad, and so like I actually think they have the most stable scene. They're doing good stuff with it. Like
how about Hearthstone? Because like I was thinking, okay, Heroes of Storm, sure. I don't know too much about that scene, but how about Hearthstone? Like, what do you think about the competitive scene for Hearthstone?
Terrible. Like the game itself is just built in, not so much randomness, but it's like there's not enough to be able to distinguish yourself as a skilled player. And this is from not my personal feedback, but like feedback that I've heard from a bunch of different pro players.
Right.
And I think like spectating it, they've got it all figured out. It's like okay as a spectator. I think it's actually fine watching it. But the game itself is very hard to like work with. It's just that
it's not a competitively minded game,
right? But the casual player base for that game is just nuts. And so like that's a game that wasn't supposed to be an esport, and so I can give them like the benefit of the doubt there. It's like whatever, not a big deal. So then where do you go from there? You have HOTS.
Well, look, we've named like 5 different games, and all of them have like. And you're saying that HOTS is the best esports scene out of all 5 of them? So
yes, surprisingly being their smallest game.
Yeah, so then you look at that and you're like, Blizzard's track record for esports... It's
like 1-4.
Pretty bad. Let's put it that way. Pretty bad.
And then they try to do this very ambitious product. A product where I'm looking at, I'm just like, if Riot Games tried to do this product, I would be skeptical. Because I'd be like, okay, well, you guys are going for gold here. Yeah. Like, you're right here, and you guys are fishing for right here.
Yeah, I mean, that Overwatch League... conceptually is just like the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, we're gonna like not make it in one geographic location. Yeah. We're gonna spread it across the entire world where there's no proof necessarily that even works.
Yeah.
Or that there's a player base to maybe not player base, but like fans to support that kind of like international growth. And we're also gonna make the league $20 million entry per team, which of course has all these caveats. So it's gonna be like a $200 million league.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what's your past successes like? Like, how is this going to function in the future? Like, you don't know. There's a lot of questions.
Roll the dice. Hopefully, the 1 in 5 chance comes up good this time.
There's a lot of question marks with it. And so, like, even people who play in Overwatch are just like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they crush the competitive scene for Overwatch because they forewarn players not to sign. Mm-hmm. And all the tournaments for a period of between the Overwatch League starts and the like February of this year, all the tournaments just shut down. So it's only contenders, which is their Blizzard's official challenger scene running, and that's it. And so and all the teams are trying to like get players to sign for really cheap. It's like, oh, you're a good player. How about we pay you like $4,000 a month? And people are like, $4,000 a month? That sounds great, but like if you're getting the Overwatch League, you're gonna get 6 figures, 100%. And so. It's like this really, really like sharky area where, and all the players are just like, what if I'm not good enough to be on a team? Yeah. Because there's no region locking. So if you're like a LA-based team, kick off all their players, get 5 Koreans if they wanted to, technically.
Yeah.
And so it's like a really like, as an ex-player, if I was a player of that team, I'd be super scared.
This feels like so high stakes for everyone involved, for investors, for teams, for players, for Blizzard itself. Oh my god.
But I mean, if it works out,
everyone's happy. Everyone's making millions of dollars. It's great.
Until that point, though, I'm just gonna be like, good luck, because I want them to succeed. If they succeed, Riot gets pressured because they're just like, oh shit, Blizzard has a good product. We gotta do some stuff. Like, I feel like, well, even if they're not pressured by it, because it's a completely different game, the more competition there is, the better it is for the consumer.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing is just like, I mean, Mark had a video that came up not too long ago about Overwatch as an esports in general, and so like when we're talking about Hearthstone, we're saying that the game isn't built for competitive play. I honestly feel like Overwatch is kind of similar in that boat. Now, Hearthstone, it's like I see it as not being very competitively minded because of RNG elements, that sort of thing. It's hard to, like you said, it's hard to show how good you are at that game. But Overwatch has a whole set of other problems, right? At least Hearthstone is super watchable. All the like StarCraft is super watchable. Overwatch, I'm still not convinced, is actually like a spectator thing. Like CS:GO, for example, oh my god, it's amazing to watch.
Easy
PUBG,
to watch.
Great,
Oh, I just this one thing that I said a couple days ago. if you were to ask me what would be more successful a year from now,
Yeah.
PUBG or the Overwatch League,
Yeah.
I would probably like put money on PUBG. Like I actually think there's a higher chance that PUBG is like in relative size. PUBG is not going to start a $200 million league.
Yeah.
Right? But in terms of like actual success and like their track record, how they're doing right now, how people are really feeling about it, I think PUBG is like killing it.
I mean, right now PUBG is definitely, you know, what's that CNN show? It's like the dude with the stocks and he's doing, what is that called? It's like Mad Money?
Yeah, something like that.
Like, if I was that dude and I was looking at the stock for PUBG, it's like, oh,
hot.
get it as soon as you can. Right?
And especially like Tencent just bought the rights for that game, right? And already
Tencent recently acquired.
Already they showed the stats for Chinese players. They're already the #1 player base. Of course, right?
Yeah,
China's player base so big.
Oh, 1% of China's playing it. It's already the biggest base in the world.
But it's nuts.
Yeah. PUBG is nuts. I still have reservations about that game. I still think that there's still room for another, survival arena type game like that. But that said, PUBG's got Tencent money. They're expanding to consoles. Like all the things are showing that they're going to go into up in the right.
Right.
So,
and I think that this is something that
up in the rights this way.
You're right. I think there's a thing that a lot of people don't realize where when you're a new developer and you come out with a new game, you get a lot of leeway. It's like you get a honeymoon period with the fans. You can do no wrong for the first like 6 months or so. So PUBG came out recently. For the first 6 months to a year, unless they monumentally collapse the game, aka they arcade the game, which I don't know if you played that game. That was like
that was the most disappointing MMO of all time.
Arcade literally had the ability to be like a really nice niche MMO, and they just like poof.
Dude, I remember when
everyone's hyped about the game.
Everyone was so hyped. So me, Cop, and Mark were all, and Xell actually, because he was on the team too, and we were all like, "Oh my god, Arcade is going to be the thing," and then we played, and then we were like, "What are we doing with our lives? This game sucks."
Really?
Yeah.
I know. And then they had the update that was supposed to unlock the new continent and like be that was the end game.
Yeah.
And I heard with the update was just like the monumental worst update of like all time. And then it tanked the game and the game just straight up died.
Yeah. Well, I've got a feeling like PUBG's got a little while before they'll need to do some sort of update like that. You
Absolutely.
know? Like,
And they're constantly doing stuff to it, which I like a lot.
If they just refine certain things, like everyone talks about how like jank PUBG can be, like they fix some of that stuff. They put in skins. You know, like let's say they use the CS:GO system where you can get like colored weapons and shit. Oh my god, they're gonna be raking in money.
Yeah, like instead of fists, you just have like brass knuckles or something. People would be like, I gotta have
Tencent's acquired them so they can put like League stuff in there. Like you can have Vi gauntlets or something instead. Think about it.
That would be sick, actually.
Yeah. That would never.
That would never happen. Yeah. But that,
I mean, it did happen for a different Tencent game where a Tencent mobile game used League's assets and then.
But it's like the Strike of Kings thing for. I think it's renamed something else for the Western audience, but in China that's what it's called. And then they just have Batman in there. They just like randomly Batman's just in the game as a character, and you're just like, oh okay, I guess that works.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I think PUBG looking great. Overwatch League looking a little bit rocky.
I don't know what to think about.
I think
that's all.
I think they're not going to mess it up that bad. Like, it's going to be rocky, but there's a...
I feel like because of how, like I said before, how high stakes this stuff is, where, like, teams are paying $20 million for just a spot.
Right.
Like, at worst, you're losing $20 million? Like, that sounds pretty bad to me.
But the thing is, for the first year, they already said it's going to be locked in LA as all the teams are building out their respective bases in their countries or cities, right? So I think for the first 6 months to a year, it's okay. But as it gets closer and closer to the point where it's like, oh, do you have a arena set up? Because every Overwatch League spot, you are required to also build an arena. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
To be able to house like a couple thousand people. So a home arena. So I don't know how that's gonna work. That's gonna be nuts.
Oh my god, yeah. So like you're investing $20 million, like as a team, right? Like your C9 or your TSM or whatever, you're like, okay, so the down payment just to get in is 20 million, and now you're saying that like player contracts, right? You need six players, right, on an Overwatch
It's 6
team?
players.
Yeah, 6 players without any subs. Like, you know, you've got those contracts to buy out, and then you're you have to build a stadium as well, all just for Overwatch. You know, you're probably looking at, I don't even know. I have no idea, but you're looking at a lot of fucking money there, and I'm just like, I'm so concerned for everyone involved with Overwatch League.
Yeah, I again, like I said, wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, I hope it works.
They're gonna need it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
That'd be funny if it was like this, instead of just building a stadium, they just use like the biggest stadium there. So it's like, we're gonna use the Staples Center for the Overwatch League, our first match, and then like it holds like what, 30,000 people, 40,000 people,
tens of thousands,
like 1,000 people show up.
Yeah, I mean, at best, right? Like I don't know, like
the League. I don't even know if League could draw in 1,000 people. Actually,
yeah, you could.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
For League, yes. In LA, yes. But in like some of these other places, like I don't know. Let's say like I don't know, what's a random esports organization?
C9 has London.
Okay, like C9 London. Okay, that's still a pretty big city. I feel like.
I mean, South Korea. There's.
Let's say like Evil Geniuses. They like come in late and they're like, oh fuck, all we have is like North Dakota, you know, and it's like
I don't know if that's gonna be a spot.
And like 5 people show up and you're like, thanks guys.
They fulfilled their requirements. They just better not play at home a lot.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's the other thing. The players are gonna have to be traveling.
Is that really how they're making this work? By the way, is that like you travel to the different stadiums? Oh my god.
Like, because that's the only reason why you would build multiple stadiums, right? Because at some point there's gonna be a travel plan.
Oh my god.
I don't think they've released any details, but I can't imagine why you would have a stadium built.
Yeah, I guess so, because they probably wouldn't want to play online, right? Like, they'd play everything on LAN.
Which, from what I understand, they don't have a LAN client yet.
Dude, the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, what is going on? Why are they doing
honestly, this? It sounds really bad, but I don't know enough details to say anything more than this. I wish them the best of luck.
I hope everything works out.
Yes.
For everyone involved, because I think like one of the worst outcomes that could happen is that teams are like putting in money that they don't have, and then it crashes and burns, and then all esports just dies. No, C9 is bankrupt, TSM goes bankrupt.
It's super likely that like if investors go into Overwatch and it flops, they'll be less likely to invest in other things like League. Because for them, League and Overwatch are the same thing.
People have been kind of talking about the esports bubble, right? And I think this Overwatch League could be the thing that pops it.
I mean, to be honest, league franchising also has a big thing to it. Like both the franchise leagues are going to be very, very big targets. If either of them fail monumentally,
at least League though is like small beans, right? Like you're talking like 3 million for a buy-in. At least, you know, that's baby money compared to like the expected 20 million plus that you've got in Overwatch. So
that's true, but. Neither of these franchise leagues can tank. If you appreciate esports at the current level and you want it to grow up, you better pray that everything works out.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like Overwatch or don't like League.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Even Steve, even Team Liquid, I feel like would be hurting if they.
It's actually so funny. The paid by Steve meme is like hilarious to me because like. Steve is like a penny pincher. Like he's a person who's like he's very like careful with how he uses money. He tries to like always like penny pinch the last dollar. So like the paid by Steve meme, I'm always just like,
it's actually so funny.
It's so funny if you like actually like know of things that he's done.
Oh god, Steve's a nice guy though, depending on how you work with him.
The best thing I've ever heard about Steve, it was like. Team Liquid won normal season.
Yeah.
And then Steve literally the day of flew out to New York to get sponsors. Like and the way Dom explained it to me, it was just like, yeah, dude, Steve just like left that night. Like he the way he said it, he was like, yeah, he doesn't know if we'll stay first. Like, he's got to get it right now when he can say we're the best in the league. I just thought it was so funny. Yeah. But Steve is like a hustler for sure. He's like one of the best people. Like, if you're ever just like, how did Liquid get that random sponsorship where you have to build like cars? Did they have like a Ford sponsorship a long time ago? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
They had people build like little cars, and there was a sponsorship attached to, oh god, it was some car company. And I was just like, how did you get this sponsor?
Yeah, no, I think honestly, out of, we talk about like Reggie, Hotshot, Steve, and Jack,
right?
It was
Nissan,
I'm
pretty sure.
Oh, it was Nissan. As those guys, like Steve is like one of the best for the business minded. Like obviously Team Liquid, like the league Team Liquid aside, like player management not the best, whatever. But like overall, as like running the company and getting sponsorships, Steve might be the best
in terms of getting sponsorships.
He
like
might be number one.
You want Steve because he'll sell you up so hard and like he hustles. 100% hustles really hard to get sponsorships.
Yeah. Where the fuck is Mark? I don't know, man.
Usually Mark on the Sunday comes back really quick.
Yeah, normally we get to a point where we're like, I don't know what to talk about, and then Mark comes busting in through the door. No.
No, not now.
How long has it been? Let's see. We've been live for 41 minutes. Yeah, he's usually here by now.
41 minutes?
Yeah.
Is he locked out?
No, there's no way. Wait, I haven't checked my phone.
Hold on a sec.
No.
I have received no messages because no one ever texts me. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Tell us about how ArcAge failed. Well, okay. ArcAge was this like MMO that was supposed to revolutionize MMOs. It was like they wanted you to be able to do anything in it. It's like, if you want, you can go exploring, or you can be a farmer, or you can be a pirate on the seas. Like, you could do like whatever. It was just like, it was supposed to be this just like beautiful blank world that players just like do whatever.
Exactly. If you wanted to be like a trader the entire time, you can be. And then they released an update which was supposed to like add in game, and it just like destroyed everything.
Well, it was so dumb too, because like most people when they play MMOs, right, they want to get into the combat.
We're talking about ArcAge and why it fell.
Because it sucked.
Wait, I heard it was like they had an in-game update, like an update, and the update came out. It was the worst update of like all time.
But even before the update, remember when we
probably played like 30 hours.
Yeah.
We would just play every night for like 5 or 6 hours before World started, and after like 2 weeks of like 5 hours every day, we were nowhere.
Yeah.
It literally was like, you walk to a zone, they literally hand you like 10 quests that have no substance. You do those 10 quests with zero plot line that matters.
Yep.
Go to the next 10 quests, and you do that for 30 hours, and you're still like not even halfway to like end game content, which supposedly was good.
Well, was supposedly okay, because like I remember Cop would be trying to like he'd go to the zone where the best drops were going to happen, but the drops were
Scooch.
The drops were made in a way that like only the person who killed the thing has the chance for the loot to drop. And so what you have is like 60 campers around the spot that the thing lives, and you're just hoping that you can tag it before it dies. And there's a similar system in like WoW, right? With rare spawns, how you need to be one of the people to tag it to get the possibility for the drop.
And do like maybe like a small percentage of the health.
But this was even more extreme because this was like a brand new MMO, right? And so there's like everyone's doing the same thing. It like, imagine if all people who were playing World of Warcraft was looking for the same drop. That's what was happening with ArcAge. And so like, yeah, of course no one's gonna get what they want, and it just feels like a giant waste of time.
Did you guys talk about sorry to change the subject. Did you guys talk about Reddit at all today?
We talked about the EU starting late.
Oh, wait, what are you talking about?
You follow Reddit like the last 2 days, like how outside their mind they are.
Well,
like, so there was one Reddit thread that went up yesterday that was like, it's Riot's broadcast team fault for why everyone turned against C9 this split.
Oh, I saw that,
dude. Oh,
and then
God.
So that one was pretty dumb. But it's like, all right, if you think that, like, kind of whatever. There were a couple posts in there that were especially stupid.
Yeah.
And then today, there was one that was like, bathroom breaks are ruining the LCS because they're getting abused by players.
Oh, I saw that.
I saw that, and I was like, wait, I am like the biggest Reddit advocate out there. Like, I fucking love Reddit. I don't care if fans like don't understand something because it's not like their full-time job the way it is for like us.
But this is just like your brain doesn't function.
I'm so good at filtering out like dumb Reddit shit that
Right.
like when I see it, I'm just like, oh yeah, they're just fucking retarded.
No, like legit, I read that, and I didn't remember when you first asked me.
But now
about
that
dumb
you
Reddit
mention it, I'm
stuff.
just like, oh my god.
I was like, wait, so you guys are saying you'd rather have Trick piss on stage? That's like the argument they're making.
yeah.
like there's no way you can like guarantee that a player is like telling the truth. It's like,
Well, the thing is, it's up to the referee's judgment. So, like, if randomly in the middle of a game after a lost team fight, they're like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" The ref says no. The rulebook says no. There's no minor pauses.
Yeah.
But Trick asked like 4 times. He asked like in lobby before, and like, no, you should have gone in between. He asked after a team fight. He almost pissed himself on stage after a team fight, and his teammate died. This was Kelsey interviewed a player on G2, and like
Jesus.
a player died requesting the pause because that's how important it was to them to get the pause for Trick to go to the bathroom. And it's like, wait, the fans are saying this is like being abused. It's like, no. Like, you would have had Jensen barf on stage. Like, you know what the Reddit thread is then? I can't believe Riot didn't let the players go to the bathroom. I can't believe that they ruined the series with their ridiculous rule set. Like,
the way that I see it is, it's like, let's take a tangent and look at real sports. So in real sports, what happens if there's a bad call? It's the ref's fault, right?
yeah.
So like, why isn't that the case for League?
Yeah, it's not the rule book. It's not.
It's like Riot's rule books are wrong, man. It's like in the rule book, don't the refs have a God clause?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
they
Riot's
literally
rulebooks,
do.
it's basically like at any point under their jurisdiction, the refs can like overrule something. That's what happened here. It's like they had been asking consistently, nonstop in the game, basically for piss breaks because Trick was going to pee himself.
Yeah.
And on top of that, what happens in real sports is you call a timeout, or there's a TV timeout, or like if someone like.
Oh, if only we had a timeout function in.
If someone like gets sick in football, in soccer, like those guys just take a knee. They're like, oh, my dick hurts, and they fall on the ground. And like that is not the level we're at here. This is not happening like consistently. It's like, okay, a couple games this weekend, it was a statistical aberration, but it's not like this has been going on for 3 weeks in a row. And it's like, guys, we're getting it out of hand here.
And I mean, I don't even know if you could argue that any of the pauses had like an impact on the result of the game.
Yeah, not at all. It's so stupid. Just like, I love Reddit, but this is like the dumbest I think I've ever seen them be.
It's there's just always going to be like a degree of separation from the people who are, you know, armchair watching an event, right? Because like from the Smash side of things, like people, a lot of people generally are like, oh, this tournament was good because it was watchable, and then they say like, oh, these events were bad because the streams weren't held up right, and like. A lot of times, a lot of those tournaments that the stream wasn't running well, maybe the tournament was run well, but you wouldn't know because you weren't there.
But the thing is, when people arguing that pauses ruin the momentum of the team that's winning or that it's swung, it's like, okay, but like that happens. Like, I there will be emergency situations that happen in any
anything,
sport,
anything ever.
If your mental game is so weak that a small 2-minute pause while someone goes and takes a piss is enough to like ruin your momentum, it's like. I don't know. I would rather that than have someone barf on stage or piss on stage, and that's the reason they lose. Like,
and plus, like teams are supposed to pause when anything weird happens. Really, like
if you think there's a bug, you pause.
you pause. And so, like if you're saying that, like literally, like
my jungler's gonna pee himself, which is literally what they're telling the ref. Like after they had already asked like 3 times. If the fans would rather see someone get piss stains and lose, and like,
to be honest, maybe that's what we needed for it to change. People would have been like. I can't believe you let him pee on stage. And that's when...
Yeah, but that looks so much worse.
Yeah, that looks so much worse for everyone involved, especially that ref.
Like,
right?
Trick is, like, humiliated.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, sues for all I know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
how do I know? Like, it's so ridiculous.
And the refs can hear all the comms.
Yeah,
so
they're
it's
sitting
like,
behind the whole time, so it's not like... Randomly, in the middle of the game, they lose a team fight, and they're like, I need to pee.
Yeah.
That's not the situation.
They're like, oh God, we need some more time to think about this, guys. Someone call for a pause. You know, it's not like that. Anyways, give them catheters,
I think Travis tweeted that. If someone was like, just stick catheters in the players.
Yeah, take all the fucking chairs too and punch a hole in the bottom so people can shit themselves too.
Yeah, just literally, you know, the Cartman thing from South Park.
Oh yeah,
Mom, here, pan, man, get the pan.
Oh my god.
I also forgot my notes again today.
That's all right, dude. I always got your back. Except for one of the games while driving here, I don't have to start the 8 minutes.
I remember them reasonably well. Game 2 is probably the one that I don't remember the most.
The only game... All right, so this series was... Describe the series in less than 5 words.
Ooh, that's tough. Like, Omar Sucks is in there somewhere.
Oh, my... Oh.
I just don't know how to work Envy in. Because it's not Seraph Sucks worse, because I actually don't think he was the worst player of this series.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say Seraph Sucks worse. It's just...
I should not Seraph play... Okay, before we get too nitty-gritty, for me, it's just... when you expect COG to do well...
You think it's because Afro. And this was like... Between Omar and Afro, they were like competing for worst player in the series. It's funny that the 2 players competing for worst player in the series were on the same team. That won,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Anyways, welcome to Greatest League Talkshow. We cover and analyze North American LCS games, and we're going to go over CLG versus Envy. Playoff game that for the 5th, 6th place match?
Yes, sir.
No,
for the 3rd, 6th. But
oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, no,
sorry, I agreed.
All right. Anyways, the series is a 5-game series where it was. I don't like saying that it's close. It's close, but in a way that you don't like it to be close.
This was super, super close, and it felt like Envy was pretty prepared, had a really nice game plan, and it worked very, very well. But CLG, generally speaking, is a better team, even though that there's some of their players played awful. It was just a series where they were able to skate by off one massive mistake out of Envy, and then slightly outplay in the final game.
To be fair, there was a lot of mistakes
on both sides.
Yes, on both sides. But it was a 5-game series that ended up CLG's favor at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to just jump into it?
Yeah, you start me out, man. Game 1.
First game, where this is where you start to realize that, like, I thought you were kidding me, or you were joking with me when you told me that Envy gets a lot of help from his team, or Lyra gets a lot of help from his team. But, like, Lyra gets some of, like, the most help that a jungler gets in NA LCS.
It's like him and Mike Young, probably.
Yeah, where they get the best setup leashes, like, the best, like, their bot lane... Envy's bot lane harassed the other jungler, or like every game.
Yeah.
I think. It's like 4 or 5
I think there's
games.
like one game they didn't when the other team had Morgana. I think that was like the one game they didn't go for it.
So this is a nightmare situation for Omar God.
So let's break it down, because we're gonna talk about this in 4 out of the 5 games. So we can just break this down one time in depth and then just say they did it again. Basically, they have Alistar level 1 with a Tristana and against a Zac or some other like Gragas weak tank jungler, and the other team's bot lane is 2 ranged supports for the most part. So it's something like Thresh Kate or, Thresh Varus. And what they do is they just walk up while the other team's trying to leash for their jungler, and they just start auto-attacking people. And they get them low and they make it difficult. And 2 of the 4 times, CLG's bot lane try to all-in them with like a flash Alistar Pulve into like an Ignite with, Stixay learning W level 1. They go all in. They get nothing but a couple summoners, and then they have horrible skills for level 1.
Yeah, and it doesn't get reganked in the appropriate amount of time.
Yeah, because he's been harassed off the bot lane. So like, they get set behind, their bot lane gets set behind, they have the wrong skills. Lyra's starting off by himself perfectly fine. And that happens 4 out of the 5 games, basically.
And the worst one was the first game.
Yes, absolutely.
Where not only did Omar get harassed off of level 1, he had to back at level 1 from the red buff. Lyra starts the opposing red, goes into Omar's blue side,
takes all 3 camps.
All 3 camps, and Omar finishes red. And
Raptors red, yeah.
Yeah, Raptors red, and then goes for golems. And at some point during this game, he's level 3 to Lyra's level 5. Because he has nothing to farm.
Yeah, he has 1 quadrant, and also because bot lane did this harass thing with Kate Thresh, an extremely dominant lane, versus Alistar Tristana, they're just pushing them in constantly, chunking them out. And Hakuho is playing really well.
Really well.
And CLG's bot lane is playing awful. It's a combination of both.
I also think that CLG's drafts were just really greedy. Like, they dropped multiple losing lanes against Envy.
I think their worst game was game 2. Game 1 wasn't too bad because they did have the Gnar pressure this game, which was huge.
Yeah, well, Darshan performing very well is kind of the signature of this series. I think Hui especially like ended up being MVPs for their team.
Yeah, so Darshan probably didn't have a single bad game and had some good plays, but I think Hui, when he did play well, played better than Darshan. But either way, what happens this game is after the huge level 1 disaster and the jungle getting set behind, the bot lane getting chunked out, literally they're just constantly getting hooked into trap, into flay, non-stop. Eventually, Envy are able to take bot turret, but because Darshan in the 1v1 this whole time, because all the action is bot lane, he's smashing Seraph, he is able to get a CS lead. MarkZ finally gets up there, and they actually trade turrets almost at the exact same time.
That happened around 9 minutes.
Yeah, it was around right around 9-10 minutes.
Before that situation, Lear ended up just like hard pressuring Omar. Omar gets pressured really hard.
Yeah.
For most of the series, he's on the back foot.
And just to touch on it, it's like, yes, he is getting set behind in the early game, but he also just plays awful.
Yeah, he played really bad as well. A lot of his stuff is really telegraphed. For the most part, when you look at the games, how many times did he go top lane before game 5?
Like 0. Actually, they had 2 top lane plays the entire series I can remember. All the action revolved around bot lane because Envy's bot lane consistently smashed CLG's bot lane.
Yes.
The junglers get pulled down there. The roams start happening there. And basically every game is decided by bot lanes.
But that's playing so much into Envy's side, like pressure,
Yeah.
that like I think that's a terrible call for
You can split
CLG.
the map. Like,
Exactly. Like then another jungler would have been able to just like go top side, especially because it's not like Darshan played badly in any of these games. He had pressure almost every game.
even the matchups where he got counterpicked in game 2 and game 3, he was usually up CS.
Where he had the Rumble TP at like level 3 minutes, and yeah, it just felt like they played into Envy's style, and Envy punished them very, very hard for it.
Yeah, so in game 1, they have the bot lane turret first. There's some objective trading. It's relatively even. Envy's getting more Barons, dragons. They get 2 Mountain Dragons with a Cassiopeia, Elise, Caitlyn, which is a pretty fast Baron team.
And throughout the whole series, Envy's dragon control is great.
I mean, they're
Super
smashing
good.
bot lane.
Yes.
It makes it even easier, and then it's just generally very, very good.
There's some scraps here and there. There's a 3 for 3 in the bot in CLG's red side where Afro's headbutt gives Niski 2 kills.
Yeah, 6-8 goes in, gets a kill, reset, flash out. Alistar headbutts him right at him. And the Cassiopeia is like, thank you.
Yeah, and for the most part, Niski is a pretty good player, and you'll see that throughout the entire series. Like I think generally he plays fairly well.
Right. So there's some scrapping. CLG's not playing super clean. You can kind of tell it's not one of their best days. This 3 for 3 was one that they started in a 2v3 situation in their own jungle.
It turned out worse for them.
Yeah. And eventually what ends up happening is Envy, with their fast Baron team, with their double Mountain Dragon, force Baron on CLG.
And in the one mistake you could say Hakuma made this game, or not even a mistake, he got the flay
Play on the E.
and he missed the hook on the incoming Omar, and Omar was able to flash in and smite steal.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not his fault, to be honest. It was just like a really...
I think it was a good call. They maybe could have played it a little slower, because like they weren't losing the game. They still had good scaling, so I think they could have continued to play it slow. But
I don't mind the call at all.
Yeah.
Even though it ended up in CLG's favor and won CLG the game, it's still a call that I'm like, they could have executed probably a little bit better, and it's theirs.
this is literally the calls that Dignitas made last series, but without the high level of execution. So the enemy team gets through the choke point, and the Zac is able to get in range to flash. And that's basically what happened here. It was just, yeah, Omar got in the pit, he won the smite, and then that was the catalyst CLG needed to just start mowing down turrets with Trist.
Yeah. At this point, Envy can't do anything, and CLG just start having like a really strong front line walking over the enemy team.
Yep. So that's mostly game 1. Game 2. Ooh, I hate both these drafts. I hate both these drafts. So Envy's comp is Rumble, Gragas, Galio, Varus, Thresh.
I don't mind this one as much as I mind maybe another one, but I think
It's tough because it's all magic damage,
except the Bears.
except for the Varus, which is still some magic damage, not a super high AD threat. It doesn't synergize well. Gragas plus Rumble are opposites in terms of how they want a team fight, as well as the fact that Galio wants someone who goes in, and there's 0 people who go in on this comp. So it doesn't synergize at all. It's all magic damage, and the only way they're going to win is by getting a big lead early game. So what does CLG do?
Blues early.
They draft 3 losing lanes with a weak jungler.
Yeah. I mean, they draft... They learned after the second game to stop drafting this weak spot lane. So they drafted Triss Alistar both games into Thresh.
Yep.
By the way, Thresh just monsters this lane. Like, this is like not a fair lane, and Varus beats out Triss as well. And so in both
Game 1 and
games,
2, yeah.
I think bot lane's down 30 CS. Just some disgusting amount of CS.
Yeah, Hawkho and Apollo are obliterating them.
I think the CS difference at 15 after the first 2 games is 30 for Apollo.
So this is the first time also that Envy picks Galio. They take it relatively early. They pick Victor in case it goes mid. Victor's a fine matchup. Not good, not bad. Just kind of farm it out.
I don't really
outscale.
I don't really like Victor into Galio. Usually want you more consistent damage, and so the most common pick into Galio is Cassiopeia, which is what CLG picked later in the games.
I believe it was banned this time. I'm not sure.
It was not.
It was not banned. Okay, then I definitely don't like the Victor. And then they comboed it with Shen, which is just weird because there's so many physical damage picks you can take if the Galio goes top that also still have really good matchups because there were so many top bans. So like, I feel like you could have taken Fiora, you could have taken Camille, you could have taken Trundle. Like, a lot of these picks would have been fine. They take the Shen, and then they put the Galio mid, and they
were just really banking on the idea that, like, at some point, their scaling carry threats would just outperform. And they didn't think that, like, Envy's early game, from what I understand, would be as good.
It's weird, though, because Envy does have a good early game.
Yeah, statistically, they have a great early game.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, like, the best in the league, but that is one of their strengths.
I actually think they're, like, number 3 or 4.
Yeah, they're plus
there.
600 at 15, if I remember the stat. So it's like, they're good. They're definitely good, and it's kind of playing into their win condition. And this game goes even worse than Game 1. Once again, like you said, bot lane's getting smashed the same way. But there's also just fights that go way worse, and the gold lead just balloons horribly.
A good example of a fight is at 8 minutes, Afro just goes in on Thresh with a Shen ulti. And then what happens? Oh, Galio ulti drops in, the enemy top laner TP's in, and the enemy jungler's there. So he just dies for free, and they get first tower.
And this is really important because, yeah, they lose first turret, but they also... Afro was 5 when he went in. So Envy puts their bot lane back bottom, and they go for... Infernal Dragon, and Afro's like, hey, let's engage on them again. And he goes in, still level 5, and insta-dies again.
And they get 3 for 0, then lose Infernal Dragon. So, like, at this point, CLG's, like, as pretty far behind as you possibly can be.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are forcing plays with a weaker team comp.
And this is a great example of CLG getting dragged into Envy's pace. Because, like I said before, Seraph blew his teleport at 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, Darshan had a great trade up top.
Yeah, Darshan was literally 10, 15 CS up in this matchup, which he got counterpicked in. And it's just like your bot side's getting smashed, your mid laner can do nothing in this matchup. He just sits there and wave clears, and your bot lane's forcing plays as they're losing anyways.
Yeah, so in this situation, like, it's common for even the support to maybe ditch or the bot lane to lane swap top lane to make something happen, which CLG didn't do the entire series till the 5th game.
Yeah, that was the one time they finally did it.
And it won them the game for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's like stuff that you would expect CLG to do, which they're relatively good at playing the macro game, as opposed to just laning out the entire early game.
It felt like they might have got flustered, just like with how much Omar God was getting fucked with in the jungle, with how hard they were losing this lane. Because like you said, it is a bad lane, don't get me wrong, but they were losing it harder than they needed to.
Yeah, and CLG was literally had like 3 deadweight members with both the solo lanes trying to carry.
That's the story of the series for the most part.
But yeah, for the most part, Envy just goes out to a big lead.
Lots of these skirmishes that just go horribly wrong.
They ganked. Oh yeah, Seraph ended up going mid with Galioton ended up killing Huhi with both summoners up. That shouldn't have happened, but it did anyways. And throughout the series, actually, all the dragons were very good. So
tons of Infernos, tons of mountains.
Usually you'll see like, okay, a couple clouds here, a couple oceans. No, this was an Infernal heavy series. All 5 games had like Infernos and mountains back to back. You saw one game that had 2 clouds and like one game that had an ocean. But for the most part, if you're looking at the dragons, because Envy always wins bot, always gets dragon control every game, 3 dragons, and they're great dragons.
So what happens in this game after we have this big lead for Envy? CLG actually finds a really good fight. Afro, he's playing Alistar. Yeah, he's getting smashed in lane, but he does find a good flash pulve onto Apollo. He dies through the Galio ultimate. They're all in the choke point. Rumble has a great ultimate as well, but they all get out alive. Yeah,
it was a 4-man ulti. Like, actually, Seraph, I thought this game and the game before played great. So
No, not the game after the Toronto game.
No. I thought Seraph actually played game well the first game. If you look at the first game, and we're gonna go back a little bit. Up until the 27-minute mark, he was playing against Gnar as Shen.
Yeah.
He built one armor item, and he was even in CS with equal ulti pressure up until 27 minutes, and he was able to build MR. He had good ultis. Was stayed even in CS.
He was down 20 CS at 15 minutes. He just caught back up because they stopped putting Gnar in situations to get the most farm. He was down like 15 CS and he lost his turret at 9 minutes because the jungler roamed up.
Okay, outside of that situation,
He caught back up because his bot lane was smashing.
but he also had like 2 to 3 good ultis. Like
He didn't play bad. I'm just saying that like I thought that was like a whatever performance where it's like you're Shen into Gnar and you're just getting pushed in a lot. I would have to see exactly what the CS deficit was, but Gnar was ahead a lot and they took the turret against him. And then after that point, it started going back in Sarah's favor because they had no pressure.
It's easier to farm.
Yeah.
Maybe I overrate his performance in the first game. I remember him playing like decently well, but maybe I'm just wrong in the first game. The second game though,
he did play well.
He hit the 4-man ulti here. He hit the 3-man ulti on the next team fight. And he pretty much slaughtered the fights.
Yeah. So this one, anyway, CLG wins this fight. Despite the good Rumble ultimate, they get like 4 for 1 or something.
They got 4 for 2.
4 for 2. CLG looks like they're coming back into the game, but they really overestimate how strong they got off this fight. They probably think they're closer to even, but they're still down like 4 or 5k. They start contesting River Vision, and this is like the first, what the fuck are you doing, Omar God play? And there's a lot of them this series.
Where he just body slams. Oh, is
this is the Zac game.
Zac
He just
game.
like they're fighting for vision in the river. He has no vision deep in the jungle, and he just starts charging a slingshot blind in the jungle. Apollo ults him. They chain CC him down, and he starts running away. He gets out, but he like blows all of his shit, and they put CLG in an awful position. And they lose this fight. They lose Baron, and this is like where they lose the game.
This is the Baron fight where Seraph hits the 3-man ulti after this terrible positioning by Omar, and then they get Baron, and the game's over.
Yeah, I mean, CLG kind of walks in one at a time trying to stop it. You know, after this fight, Afro doesn't have his ult. He wraps around trying to get vision. He dies. Omar goes for a miracle seal again. He dies.
And then if you take the Baron, go bot lane sieging, kill Omar immediately on like the second
Omar
tier 2.
They try and do like a brush camp, and Omar goes in and dies again.
And
that felt like a team one though. That was the whole team being like, "Go, Omar, we're doing the Fnatic."
That was a situation where they were just desperate. They had to make a miracle play. They knew the game was over.
Yeah, that was definitely one that was not specifically his fault, but this game was kind of his fault with that decision. It's like, oh, we're starting to outscale. I'm gonna go jump blind, and it's like you didn't even get the jump off. It was a disaster.
It's just like a bunch of situations where like off the initiation or on the positioning, it's just bad.
Yeah, awful. Anyways, this game is mostly over after that Baron play. They just get run over. Their comp does nothing. It has zero proactivity because the Zac is just melted instantly in every fight.
Yeah, it's something where they're waiting for the carries to get online. They never got online fast enough, and that's not what you want to do against Envy. And I think CLG realized that after this draft, ended up drafting something a little bit better. But to be fair, anything's better than drafting 3 losing lanes.
Yes, that's basically like the cardinal sin of drafting is like you end up with 3 losing lanes and a weaker jungler. Actually, even the jungler isn't as important as having 3 losing lanes.
Yeah, if you have 3 losing lanes, even with the more aggressive jungler,
you can't go anywhere.
Your aggressive jungler can't invade because he just gets collapsed and killed.
Yeah, and if you try and gank, you have to be worried about every single 2v2, so you like can't make a play till you see the other jungler. Anyways, horrible game out of CLG here, which brings us into game 3.
The Jinx game. The Jinx Morgana game. So this is kind of what I expected CLG to do. They left up Thresh again. Hakuo picks Thresh again. He's been doing phenomenally on Thresh. And one of Afro's move's best champions is Morgana, which is typically a Thresh counter pick. And then they pick Jinx, which
It's just not good in the meta. Like if there's a ton of 80 carry bans, yes, you can get forced onto it, but they could have gone Tristana a third time.
I was down for almost anything. I was down for Kog'Maw. I was down for pretty much anything that could possibly have been played in this situation. Jinx was,
And then they also take Vel'Koz in the mid lane into Corki.
I was okay with Ashe in this situation.
Yeah.
And they play CLG used to play the most Ashe of any team.
I don't know how they ended up on Jinx. I don't know. The Vel'Koz into Corki, it's like an okay matchup, but it's not as annoying as the Vel'Koz the first time he picked it, where it's like a bit of a counter. This time it's
this time it's like
a farm off.
Yeah, a farm off where Vel'Koz is looking to outperform around the mid game.
And once again, one thing that happened this series that we forgot to mention, CLG took blue side every single game this series until game 5.
Yes.
Which was critical.
They are the only team of the 4 playoff teams we've seen so far that prioritizes blue.
Even in Korea, they're prioritizing red, and they're on 7-15, I believe, if I remember that correctly. Either way, it seems like a big disaster because this also allows Seraph now to get counterpicked for the second game in a row. He takes Trundle into the Maokai. And early on, CLG have a really nice roam to kill the Trundle. Maokai's able to get Bramble Vest early on with Tabby, so there's no fucking way Trundle can deal with him. And for the most part, once again, Darshan's doing fine in the lane.
Yeah, it's only until really, really late into the game that Trundle starting to become a big issue for them.
And this is why it felt weird to me when people kept saying, like, oh, Seraph is having a great series, because it felt like in laning phase, he was losing to Darshan every single game. And then his team is smashing bot lane, teleports, of course, go down to the bot lane, and he finds some kills.
I think the thing is, it's like, there's a standard that you set Seraph at.
And he outperformed
And he outperformed his standard. To be fair, he did.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think, like, if his normal play is at a 5. At this series, I thought he played around a 7 or 8 for his typical standard.
Ooh, I don't know if I go 8. I could see a 7, because this game, after so there's some more TP plays in the bot lane again. Seraph gets some kills. He gets to the point where, I mean, this is going to jump pretty far ahead in the game, so we can go back after this. But at some point in the game, he's 4 items as a Trundle to a 2.5 item Maokai, and he just brute forces down the bot inhib turret and inhib in front of Maokai's face. And it's like, yeah, that's a good play, Seraph, but like anyone. Like Trundle is literally the easiest champion to play in that position.
Right. That's not him. That's him being in a position where he could carry. Now, the way they got there was the 6-team-minute play where CLG's looking for, they're trying to contest Dragon. And what goes poorly for CLG in almost every situation is contesting early Dragons. So they find a pick onto Seraph, who's mispositioned near the blast cone. They have vision over it. They go over to kill Seraph, who he doesn't use his ulti because he doesn't want to waste his ulti on a single target. Seraph gets out alive. Niski comes in, gets a triple kill on the Dragon.
Well, and it's even worse than that because before this, they tried to brute force a gank bottom. Omar God overextends and dies.
Oh,
and both TPs come in. It's a 1-for-0, but CLG kind of has pressure around the area still. And they brute force, like you said, a 4v5 where Darshan goes over the wall. And it's a disaster. They brute force a 4v5. This is the kind of CLG stuff that you saw all the time in Spring Split where they just ace themselves basically.
Yeah, and when you're giving a triple kill to Corki, which is a god at 2+ items, it's really hard to recover any kind of mid-game power. Especially
because, like you said, this was an Infernal heavy game. So this Dragon that they got off of it was an Infernal. And I think at 20 minutes they had double Infernal, Corki with 3-0-1. Like, that is a nightmare.
Yeah, and so before we get too much farther, I want to talk more about the bot lane. Like, the bot lane is there, like, they specifically set up the situation where they got the Morgana counterpick, they got the Jinx into this matchup, and they lost lane. It's a situation where, even though I just felt like Afro played really poorly.
There's a time where, Hakuho throws a hook at him.
He doesn't
black shield himself. He gets hit by that, and they start chain CCing him again. He almost dies.
Yeah, and that's a situation where it's like, yeah, maybe he was waiting for his team, but I just think he reacted slowly and had to scramble to recover a bad misstep from himself.
And then, after this bot fight happens, CLG's down like 3 or 4K. He continues to play bad this game. He charges blindly into River to try and land a binding on people, and Hakuho just sees him coming and hooks him, and they get a kill off that. And there's a lot of plays like that where Afro just keeps dying.
I mean, even the best example is the 24-minute play where CLG's making a play, or CLG's making a play around the Baron area, where Morg, like you said, went through River to try cut them off, just dies instantly. But CLG, fortunately enough, is in a position where Omar hits a great 3-man ulti, and they clean up 2 for 1, with the one being Morgana because she just killed herself.
Yeah, it's a disaster game for Afro, and like we said, the big problem in this game is that anytime there are 5v5s, even though you can say oh yeah, Jinx should outperform Varus in the 5v5, Trundle has a ton more items than Maokai, and then he ults Maokai as well, so Maokai loses all his resists, or they ult the Gragas, and so the front line of CLG just evaporates every fight. They don't need to worry about fighting front to back or anything. They just kill the Maokai instantly from the resist steal, and it's impossible for CLG to team fight, really.
From my perspective, at least, as a a person who plays a lot of Gragas and like somewhat initiated when I was jungling, it just felt like the Omar played really scared. Like he must have known he was underperforming, and because of that, it cost him the ability to initiate well. Because when you look at other junglers who are behind, let's say Smithy starts out 0-2, he still goes for the flash body slam play into ulti. Whereas count the number of times Omar did that this series. I don't even know if he did it once. He did it once, I think, overall. But it just felt like he was scared to initiate, and it was like a lot of times CLG needs an initiator from the jungle position to be able to cover.
Well, especially when Afro's on something like Morgana.
Exactly.
And he can't play the Alistar or something. And this was one of those games where, yeah, Darshan's on Maokai, but he's most of the time pinned under his turret by Trundle. So it's on, just solely Omar.
And a lot of times, he just failed to initiate well.
There was like a one TP play where, Darshan did try and start it off. Envy instantly just turns onto him and just obliterate him. You're like, oh, God. Yeah.
But anyways, so we go back to your point where they split push to get the in-hit bot lane. CLG can't really do much at this point. CLG tries to face check Envy's control of Baron. Omar face checks the bush, doesn't get the Morgana Black Shield before he walks in, gets hooked, and then dies instantly. CLG loses.
That's another play where, once again,
I don't even know if that's completely on Afro's fault.
I don't think it was Afro's.
That's like a bad team. I don't know what happened. I don't think Afro was in range for the Black Shield, and Omar went too early.
Right, and they have vision tools to check. Like, shoot a binding in there. Shoot a Q in there. Like, play it a little slower or wait for the Black Shield. He walks into melee range of the Thresh, who they see. They see the Thresh, and like he doesn't even flame. He still just hooks him because he's like, "Where the fuck is the Black Shield?" It's so. And even if they had the Black Shield there, it's gonna get bursted off instantly, and you're still gonna get CC.
Because if you force the Gragas either, you start Baron, and they have such a hard time, you're gonna get put in a choke where Trundle's gonna slaughter you.
Yeah. So once again, Omar dies right away. They all lose the fight. They get the Baron buff.
And they secure Elder with the Baron. So this game's just straight over. With four Dragon Elder buff.
Oh, and they were good elemental buffs too.
Anyways, that concludes game 3, where it looks like, for the most part, COG lost 2 games for being just the worst team. Well, like, I would say the first game, the first 2 games, or all 3 games, their bot lane got slaughtered. The third game, they got killed at the Dragon. The triple kill on the Niski.
It feels like nothing's going right in the draft.
And the only game CLG won was
a blind Baron steal, basically.
Which is like terrible if you're a CLG fan. And going to game 4, it does not start any better.
Once again, because they lose game 3, Envy has the side selection. They take red side. They've been destroying on red side. And they get what I would say is another pretty good draft.
The Nautilus was a little bit weird for me.
Yeah.
I actually do like it as a specific counterpick to
Tristana. I like it into Trist as well.
Oh, yeah. It's
because
good to both.
There's this cool interaction that you saw where if you're playing Blitzcrank against Tristana can buffer her jumps so the cast time finishes after the hook lands, and then it pulls you out of the hook. That doesn't work with Nautilus because Nautilus pulls himself to you, and then when he hits you, you bump again. So there's 2 displacements in the Nautilus queue, so even if you buffer it correctly to get out of the first displacement, the second displacement knocks you out of it. And they were able to use that to get some solo kill down the bot lane.
Like, CLG's bot lane just got... We talked about them getting wrecked game 2.
Yeah.
They got smashed again.
And this was a game where CLG made aggressive plays around the bot lane, but Afro looks fucking awful on Bard in the first 30 minutes of this game. They go for a dive under turret. He goes for a flash Q, and it seems like he doesn't move his mouse or something, and he shoots the Q not even close to Apollo. And he was gonna die anyways with that flash because he's diving in Nautilus. He just auto roots him E-ignite, and then the turret finishes you off after you flash in. So it was just some questionable decisions. It looked really bad.
Yep. And then what ends up happening with this game? CLG ends up stalling it out a little bit. In the mid game, they get 1 kill, so it's I think 2-7, 2-6, and then CLG starts farming it out at the 22-minute mark it's relatively slow.
I mean, they're still getting rolled. Let's be honest, because they're down Dragon, they're down 6 or 7K. All their turrets are getting taken. Afro's Bard misplays in the bot lane, misses a Q, so it buys time for the Galio mid once again to teleport it or ult in, save him. Top side was Nar Shen again? It was Nar something. I know Darshan got Nar.
It was Nar versus Cho'Gath.
Cho'Gath, that's right. Yeah. So it was Cho'Gath. The Cho'Gath honestly looked fine.
Did you want to talk a little bit about this comp? They had Cho, Rek'Sai, Galio, Varus, Nautilus. A lot of people are just it's 1 damage with multiple tank lines.
It's semi-viable. You see it. You see teams often take a 4 tank comp with just a single AD carry. Usually, you want something a little bit better of a hyperscaler.
You want like a Cogma
you want
or something like that.
Yeah. So it is a little weird with the Varus, but I mean, Envy's been smashing all early game, every single game. Their bot lane's crushing.
I don't think you look back on this game and you're just like, they lost because they drafted bad. It's like, no, they lost because
they start doing dumb shit in team fights.
Yes.
So like, either way, this is a game where CLG is falling out of it once again. Envy win a team fight. They're a little weird and slow on their reset to get to the next dragon, and CLG gets there first.
They 3-0 a Baron fight.
Dragon fight, you mean?
Oh, was it Dragon or was it Baron?
It was Dragon.
I thought it was like they 3-0 the.
I forget the order. There was one
Baron,
and the other.
and then they ran from the Baron. They did like a really weird back to the Dragon, and then that's where they got just crushed.
Yeah, so I forget which order it happened, but either way, the big problem in the Dragon one, because that's one I remember well, was you have these 4 tanks, but all 4 of them come in from different directions. Where like Nautilus is at the Banana Brush ramp, Galio's teleporting in behind, Lyra started off on the Dragon, and the Cho'Gath is like still running in from base. So
yeah, it was an Ocean Drake into a Baron.
Yeah, it was the Ocean Drake into Baron.
And the reason why this started so poorly was because they didn't stay grouped. So the only way this comp loses is if you start ungroup. Galio had to come in because he was clearing it, I think, top lane. And he had to TP from there to like a really...
Behind CLG as they ran forward, killing the Nautilus.
When there's literally a Rek'Sai tunnel on the Dragon. He could have TP'd there, forced... I think Rek'Sai got chunked out super hard.
Yeah, Darshan was flanking and just like kept autoing Lyra as Nautilus was dying, as this teleport comes in. Apollo's like, where the fuck do I go?
Yeah, Hako gets picked off first, then Cho'Gath dies, and it's just... terrible. Rek'Sai dies at the very tail end. They get Dragon.
Yeah, this is where Afro starts playing well. This is like 26 minutes in, I think. He like snipes out Lyra for the final kill. And
Great Bard ulti.
Yep, CLG's like, okay, blood in the water. Let's go to Baron. Let's force Baron. Smites down.
It's 26 minutes. They go to the force Baron, and I am so mad because CLG wins this fight 4-1. But Omar plays this fight the worst he could possibly...
Oh my god, you saw that too, right? Holy shit, dude. I didn't bring up that much on the desk because it like wasn't like
it's like you don't want to just like slam the guy for playing like really bad. But I want to slam this guy for playing really bad.
This play is so dumb. Like one at a time, Envy is walking. It's a 4-for-1, but it's literally like 4v1, 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 4v1.
And okay, so what ends up happening is CLG are winning this fight. So what happens when you're winning a Baron fight and another team comes in, you turn off the Baron and you collapse on the team and then you go back and finish off the Baron. What Omar thought was he thought his team already had the fight won. So he's taking the Baron for an extra 5 full seconds at 30% health.
And he's just running back and forth.
Yes, he doesn't do any... It's not like he does damage on the Baron. He's just there to make sure the Baron doesn't reset. At the very end of the fight, he's like, oh...
I'm getting low. I'll smite it.
Yeah, I'll smite it. Oh no, I'm still low. But they might need my CC. Let's just finish off this Cho'Gath and we'll go back. He buy-slams the Cho'Gath to get feasted so that CLG can't get the Baron there.
Yeah, so he tanks the Baron forever while his team is trying to kill people. Then he tries to join in later and kills himself.
And it was like a situation where if he had just left the pit and S-keyed, it would have done more for his team than what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And it cost them the chance to get Baron. And despite the fact that they just got 9 kills, I think this only puts them still 3,000 gold down.
Yes.
Like, they're still down gold. That's how far behind they were. They just got like a 7-for-1 or some shit.
This is such an easy situation where if Omar leaves the pit, goes back in, CLG gets Baron for free, this game's over.
Yeah,
it's 100% over.
Yeah, your Jinx is now scaling. Your Vel'Koz is cool. You got this great Siege comp. Like, let's fucking 4-1 with the Nara split pushing. Like, you're good to go. And they just fucked this play up. Luckily, they find another great team fight mid just 2 minutes later. It starts out with like both teams kind of hovering mid near Baron, and then Envy engage. And as they engage, Afro snipes out Apollo. And because this is a 1 damage team comp, it's kind of like you killed him for 3 seconds.
No, and that's what was really smart about Afro's play. All the bard ults that go on the Varus, since their only damage source are essentially just making it so no one on your team dies.
Yeah, so yeah, you have 4 tanks bumping into your 2.5 tanks while your still alive carries kill their tanks and Apollo just sits there. And so for the most part, that's what happens. I mean, Apollo watches his tank die, he comes out of stasis, and he's like, well, fuck, what do I do?
It got too late against CLG's comp where he was the main damage source.
Yes.
After they threw away 7
kills. Yeah, that was enough influx for them to chew through the tanks while Apollo's in stasis.
Yeah.
They win this fight, I think, 3-for-1, and then they get the Baron now because Omar didn't kill himself. And this is basically the end of the game. Oh no, it's an ace here because
it's
they
a 5-for-1
because
the game's over.
yeah they run all the way up to the top side to finish this fight. That's right. Yeah.
So this was like just a very surprising comeback for CLG. They found the hole, which was essentially the dragon fight. Mitsuki degrouped from his team. They tried a really greedy dragon. They failed. CLG found the opening, won the game.
I thought this game was over. I wrote Afro is shit. After like his first, like for my notes, I was like Afro awful laning phase.
I thought this was over too.
And I went to the bathroom to pee, and like I come back, and it's in like right as that throw starts at Dragon, and I'm like, whoa.
Anyways, that was game 4. Game 5 comes around, and COG does good stuff, like actually good stuff. Stuff where I'm just like, oh, they played well.
Well, first off, they pick red side. Great decision.
Even in any situation, I think that if you take the same side every game, throwing that wrench in the 5th game where you switch sides is a pretty good maneuver.
Well, because you know it's coming, so you can prep solely a red side strategy, whereas the team that does not have the selection has to prep 2 strategies. So 1, that's good. 2, because Darshan kept getting counterpicked by Seraph, it made it so, you know, Darshan, who's probably playing the best in laning phase, can't actually exploit that. So by going red side here, they're guaranteed to get counterpicked. And this baits Envy to being like, okay, let's grab the Gnar before Darshan can get it, because that's what he's been doing best on. And then Darshan's like, nah, bitch, I got the counterpick, takes Camille.
Yeah, and it's pivotal for them to win the game because Camille pressure essentially wins them this game. Or at least a large part of the early middle.
It wins them the early game, which is where they hadn't won all series long. So I think Darshan's Camille actually was very lackluster in the mid to late game.
Oh, absolutely.
He didn't ult in 2 fights.
It's because he died instantly multiple times. But
before
we get into that, let's talk about the Kog'Maw mid lane.
Yes.
So do you know the origin of this pick?
No, hit me with it.
I'm pretty sure it's Nuke Duck. I'm 99% sure it's Nuke Duck. So for people who don't know, Nuke Duck, European player, mid laner, fantastic player. For the most part, from what I understand, he like maybe chokes on stage a little bit, but everyone says he's amazing player. In solo queue, he plays Kog'Maw mid a lot, and it's the pick you play. I feel like it's great for European mid laners because it's just a mechanical mid lane. It's literally like you practice trying to script.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying.
So that's how it feels like. If you're European mid laner, usually you have great mechanics.
Just generally.
Generally, like all the European mid laners, fantastic mechanically. Kog'Maw's a perfect fit for that. But
Niski's mechanically good.
Yeah. And so they used it, and even though it like fell behind a little bit, it started doing some serious work this game.
So I talked to Tony a little bit on my way here. I bumped into him in the parking lot, and he was like, we did all the research that we normally do. You know, we checked, you know, the runes and masteries on Tournament Realm, you know, after scrims to see what they're playing and stuff like that, to see if he built a page. Doesn't have a page made. So they're pretty sure he doesn't play it. As he's getting off stage, he's talking to Violet. He's like, "Holy shit, you busted out Kog'Maw mid," and he was like, "Yeah, we didn't really know what to pick."
Oh,
so they didn't know what to take into Corki. They know this is good into Corki, so they just did it.
That's so funny, and it almost won them the game. Like it's a pick where I was like, "Oh shit!"
It almost solo kills Corki level 6 because you know Huhi doesn't exactly know the matchup. There's a couple team fights where they don't get onto it, and it starts destroying people.
Yeah, it is something that you're like, oh, it doesn't have much. It doesn't have anything but damage.
Yeah,
but if you can position well, if you can mechanically play fights well, you will output the most amount of damage of like any champ in the game.
The one thing I'll say is I did not like the Frozen Mallet third.
Oh
my God. He needed a Runan.
If he had Hurricane, he would have
won the game.
Yes, but he was really scared about the Camille. I can understand that.
Yeah, it's not like a oh my God, what are you thinking play. It's just one that it's kind of hindsight bias. As you see the game play out, there's so many times you're like, holy shit, if he just had a Runans, this wins.
But it's hindsight. Like for me, at least, I 100% understand it's hindsight because he can't predict Apollo positions poorly in all these fights,
and he can't predict that there's.
That like
everyone clumps up because there were a ton of times they clumped up, but you don't know that's gonna happen.
Yeah, so like he can't be like, oh, Paulo, you're just gonna kill yourself in these fights for me, so that when Darshan goes on you, we'll kill him and you'll trade your life, and then I'll be the only remaining 8 threat. It's like I would not bet on that, so I understand why he went Mallet.
It was also because like his team did a good job on Darshan. A lot of the time, like you said, he got chain CC'd
100-0 CC with exhaust.
Yeah, so it was a situation where like it's understandable. It's just unfortunate because. It probably did matter a lot.
Oh yeah, I don't want to get too far into the game because
Yeah.
we're just talking about the pick, but the pick itself worked out a lot better than I thought.
Yeah, that was not the problem. The problem was the counter pick on the top side. Darshan takes the Camille, and he destroys Seraph. Up 20, 30 CS, almost solo killing nonstop.
Force the flash, dodge the gank.
He dodges the ganks, pull all the pressure up. His bot lane's losing again, but because he has so much pressure topside, they have a really nice rotation up at around 11 minutes.
And something that I suspect CLG should have done in any of the 4 other games they're getting smashed bot lane. But instead they didn't do this, but in the game that matters, CLG's bot lane swaps, does a 2-man swap topside to get first tower and kill Seraph.
Yeah. So they're playing the early game really well here on CLG. First early game that they win in the series. You're feeling really good before the wheels start to come off a little bit.
And the wheels come off because the person who's the most fed is... Oh, before it gets to team fights, Darshan starts accruing a bigger and bigger lead. He solo kills Seraph once. Omar God shadows Darshan, which he hasn't done this entire series. So he finally starts putting pressure on Darshan's lane. They get a kill on bot tier 1 tower. They look to get another kill with 2, but actually Darshan just solo kills Seraph again, bot lane. And they start team fighting at 21 minutes for... Wait, was it 21 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, for... whatchamacallit? In top jungle.
You talking the top jungle one or the bot jungle?
Oh, we should talk about the dragon
the
fight.
river, yeah.
Yeah, so the dragon fight's at 25 minutes, Ocean Dragon, where Darshan goes into the fight and explodes. Just like gets one hit on the initiation.
And I mean, it's kind of late in the game. Not late, but like mid-game, Corki has some items. And so you get this like huge brawl. And it ends up 3 for 4, I think?
Yes.
It's super scrappy. Kog'Maw dies, but like as he's going out, takes out 3 tanks instantly with Zac, because Lyra's on Zac this game.
And in all of these situations, you literally think to yourself, if Niski does 2 more autos, he maybe just aces the fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of fights where it's like, oh my god, Niski's going off, Niski's going off. Because CLG usually starts the fight, they usually find a kill early, but it's not on Niski. Niski shits out damage, and then they kind of turn the fight, but CLG doesn't get aced, like 1 or 2 members get away, and it's okay.
Yeah. And in all of these team fights, it's pretty much Darshan, who is the biggest gold lead on the team, enters the fight and immediately gets focused down by Envy. So generally his initiation is a little bit too early, or he executes it a little bit poorly, and he just gets taken out way earlier than he ever should.
He goes from like 1-0-1, I think, to 1-3-7. So that, he keeps dying, but during this, because these team fights are close, they still have a Triss Corki. Both are great late game. They're both picking up kills. They're like 6-2 in something and 6-1 in something by like the time CLG has control of this game, which comes off the back of 2 really big team fights.
So the first big team fight, 33-minute mark, the mid lane fight. This is the fight where we talk if Niski had a Hurricane instead of Frozen Mallet, Niski gets 5 kills.
And honestly, other than I don't think Apollo played this fight well.
You could say that about every fight in the game. I'm gonna be completely honest. Apollo's positioning this fight, he could have just bought tank items because I thought he was frontlining for Niski. Like,
May as well have been.
A lot of times he ate the Camille initiation. Darshan died. He died, and then Niski goes off.
Yeah, Zac's passive gets popped. He manages to flash out. He has an excellent E backing the fight right as Stixay's trying to get a rocket jump through the fight to start snowballing. He interrupts it with his E. It drops Stixay down right in front of Niski. Niski fucks him up. He has to flash, jump out again. So I think Stixay lives through this one, but the important thing is that after this fight, basically all summoners are down, and Zac lost his passive.
Yep. But it's still a 3 for 3. Like that's how close
it's super close.
And like it's close enough to where like Envy goes even in the fight, but they have pressure and they can like pressure the first tier 1 tower. So it's like a fight where even though CLG has a gold lead, it's still very, very, very close.
It's scary, but as soon as this fight kind of everyone resets and comes back, Envy instantly goes to Baron and starts forcing on it.
I said they int, but I mean they might as well.
Yeah, it may as well have been int because they go back to Baron. They try and set up around it. Afro's flanking from the top side. The rest of CLG's on the bottom. Envy doesn't know where to go. And then what ends up happening is Lyra ends up in the pit by himself, and he doesn't have his passive this time.
He gets like 2 hit. And this is such a weird situation for me because in every other situation where Envy wins fights, they should have understood that the way they win is they play front to back team fighting, where it's a protect the Kog'Maw comp. And
you wait for the Camille to go in.
Yeah, and then Kog'Maw slams the Camille and wins the team fight for you. But instead what they did was Baron, they tried to overchase in the top tri-bush, tried to do Baron, and if you watch the positioning of the Kog'Maw, he doesn't know where to go. Because he's getting like someone pressured from like their own side of the jungle, he's getting pressure from the right side, the bot side, and he just gets collapsed upon.
It's still relatively close.
Which is scary, because in a better position, maybe Envy could have turned this.
Yeah, but unfortunately they can't. Huhi and Stixxay are unfocused for most of the fight. They kill everybody. They get the Baron. They should have the game under wraps. Then as they're going for like a 4-1, because Huhi has teleport on the Corki, he gets picked off. And, I mean, MarkZ basically had 2 good plays this entire series. He makes his second good play. He finds the flashless Kog'Maw again in his base. Gets a Gragas ultimate back into his team, and even though Huhi dies, they killed the Kog'Maw.
Yep, it works out. So, where you're wrapping up your thoughts about the series, I agree with you.
Did you see that? By the way, do you see the body slam that he had just like into the wall, like 4 minutes into the game? I hate to keep railing on him, but there was like this game was another one where he had like a ton of questionable plays.
We're gonna talk about okay. So as a Gragas player, I used to play a ton of Gragas. Whenever someone messes up an ulti, I'm immediately like key in. I'm just like, you mess this up because you don't know what to do. Usually the most common mess up is when they flash body slam, they auto attack and then throw the ulti, which means the other player can flash. So in one of the situations where Omar is in the bush. And
point blank. He's in E range.
He E's out. When they don't know and you E out, what you do is you E out and you throw your ulti mid E cast. Because when you're mid E cast, you can throw either your Q or your ulti. And instead of that, he
flashes.
He flash E's out, or he just E's out, and then the enemy has QSS. So he QSS flashes before the ulti can hit him, and Apollo gets saved. Whereas if he just E'd into an ulti, and so the body slam hits, and then the ulti hits him back immediately, QSS cannot play that.
Yeah, I was thinking of a different play. There was one in another game where he went for an E flash on a guy that he had snuck into the lane brush against, and the guy gets hit, and then he doesn't do the ult fast enough, so he just flashes away, and he ends up ulting the Thresh in, so then the Thresh just walks away, and you're like, I don't know. He had a horrible series.
Yeah,
this was worse than I thought he was going to be a bit of a liability for CLG, but this looks like
he's a large liability.
Like CLG's chances of winning playoffs based off this performance is like close to 0. Now that's not to say they can't improve, because this felt like nerves a lot. Like he can get better for sure,
yeah.
But like if they don't massively improve, this squad feels like it'll get dismantled by Immortals. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, I thought it was bad.
Any other takeaway thoughts? Afro.
The weird thing is, near playoffs, Afro actually typically plays better. And this is like a situation where I thought he played really poorly. Alongside MarkZ, all 4 other players need to play well for MarkZ to function well. If they do not, this CLG is going to get swept by any team. I
think CLG kind of needs to like rediscover their identity, because what CLG did so well during the split was the Dar duo combination, right? Where it's like Darshan's playing super well this split, we snowball him, and then we take over the game. And they didn't go topside, like you said, at all this series. They play around their bot lane, which is their weakest lane of their 3. And their bot lane's already losing. So, like, why are you ganking the losing lane over and over?
Right. Rather than finding identity, I just think Omar played bad.
He plays terrible, too. But, like, I would rather see them take, like, relatively safe with some playmaking for Aphromoo in the bot lane. Give Darshan the priority and go up there more often.
The problem that I have with that is, like we said before, if you put Omar as the sole initiator on the team, you don't know how that's going to work out.
Well, I'm not saying put Afro on Janna. You can put him on things like
Morgana, which they tried and didn't work. That's the problem. When you think about it, Morgana is the most defensive pick you can play. If they're slamming bot lane that hard, they got destroyed.
Ban Thresh and play Taric, play Blitzcrank, or
Blitz is not that great.
Not great. I mean, even the Alistar I'm fine with if they just banned the Thresh when they went for that strategy. They were banning Rek'Sai this whole time, and it didn't matter.
Maybe in that situation it's better, but at least for me, I think the takeaway for them, rather than focus on Omar's poor performance, which can improve over time, or Afro's poor performance, they should focus on the fact that they should leave Darshana more like carry-oriented picks or split-push-oriented picks.
Nara is the perfect pick for him.
Nara is great, can split-push, can frontline, can initiate. Great. When he was on Maokai, his team needs him to do more than that. Mm-hmm. He can't afford to get counterpicked on a tank pick. He needs to be able to apply pressure always. So maybe look for Trundle more. But I love the Camille. I love Dinar. Those are great picks from. And if he starts playing Trundle and then has the other top laner just pick tanks, that's probably the ideal position for CLG.
Yes. Either way, this series was not convincing at all. Envy, in a lot of ways, felt like the better team, and I'm kind of sad that we don't get to see them in Gauntlet because they didn't qualify through this.
Oh.
They're not in the Gauntlet.
Really?
Yeah, because they only have these playoff points, and FlyQuest has more from getting 4th last split.
Oh, they do. That's why FlyQuest wanted CLG to win.
Yep. So FlyQuest is happy they're in the Gauntlet. Unfortunately, Envy is not.
God, I think Envy was looking good. Like
I would love to see Envy versus C9. Yeah,
I'm down.
That would have been such a good
especially
game.
with Sneaky not playing great.
Yeah, like they could like take them apart there. Seraph versus Impact is not that bad of a mismatch like it is versus Darshan, and even then, Seraph did decent this series, like we said. So I thought that would have been a great game.
And before FlyQuest just reverse sweeps or like sweeps the.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the more you shit on FlyQuest, the better they're going to do. So I'm gonna lay it on thick and hope I get to be surprised.
Okay, well, usually we're not going to do another episode before the episode next week, correct?
No.
So do you want to just predict the first round for next week?
The first series is the Immortals.
Oh, is it Immortals CLG first?
I think it's Immortals CLG first. I remember as we were leaving broadcast today, they mentioned that. So we'll see if someone corrects us in chat in a second. But
this will be quick then.
Okay.
I think Immortals slams this.
Well, give me a score, dude. Because I said 3-2 CLG. I was wrong. They won, but
I think it's 3-1 Immortals. The thing is, it's like I base it off of the play today. If I base it off the play today, it's 3-0.
Yeah.
Right. I'm assuming in terms of with progression, the biggest problems I have, it's like we're talking jungle mismatch between Lyra and Omar. I actually think, even though there's a big mismatch, Lyra doesn't push his lead. He's not always in like the best place at the right time. He just executes very well when he's at the place.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Xmithy is almost always at the right place at the right time.
I felt like Game 1's a great example of this because like as big as Lyra got with the 3 quadrants, he went bottom to try and get onto Omar God in his own jungle. Omar finished the Krugs in time to avoid that. He looks at maybe diving bottom, but they're a little bit too healthy.
And so essentially the early Moby's bio at least just gets completely wasted.
Yeah.
Where I think if that's Immortals, they have better teamwork. Xmithy's understands better what to do with that lead and plays like Jarvan and slams bot lane.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, Jarvan was banned the first 3 games, but maybe he goes top and like ganks the Gnar early to sway that matchup. And like you said, when he's in the right place at the right time, he executes very well. So, I mean, like Lyra's decision wasn't bad. It just came up short.
And another really scary thing for me is how bad CLG's bot lane played. When they're playing into Cody and Ole, which I would consider to be
better than
them for sure. That's a huge problem. I would say they're better than Envy's bot lane.
Right, that's what I was saying. Better than Envy's bot lane. Ole is better than Hakuho for the most part. Cody and Apollo is actually relatively close. I think you can maybe argue Apollo.
Apollo has like the best laning stats of any in the LCS.
He might be better purely like with like I think the synergy between those two is amazing. Like they just completely tore CLG's bot lane a new asshole this series. So maybe they're not quite as dominant with Ole, but the thing that people always talk about is how scary is roaming. Hakuho, with all this pressure he had, didn't get mid at all this series. They just continue to smash bot, and I think if that happens versus Immortals, they're all over your map.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ole got rank 1 by roaming as much as possible mid and top. So I think they're a better coordinated team. They're looking better than CLG at the moment. I'm just so scared about Omar. Like, if he was playing somewhat reasonable, even with Afro having a bad series, I could say, like, okay, well, usually Afro plays, like, decently well. They won't get exploited as hard in the next series. But I can't even confidently say either of those things are going to happen.
No. I mean, it was clearly nerves. I think today a little bit, like, he's just doing weird stuff.
Absolutely.
But it was not like the nerves where it's like, all right, he worked those out. You can see, like, by game 5, he settled into a groove.
Right.
He looked off-kilter the entire series.
It wasn't a situation where he got comfortable with it. It was a situation where you're like, oh, God, this is who CLG is trusting to, like carry their jungler or carry them through the jungle. And that's not good.
Yep.
Xmithy will make Omar take multiple bathroom breaks.
Good meme, bro.
All right. So, that ends this week's episode.
Get me out of here, dude. It's 8:15.
Yeah, it's really, really late. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to watch any more of our content or older episodes, you can find it on YouTube at youtube.com/Greatest League TS. I do know we haven't uploaded since week 8.1, and that's because we had a situation where we had to change a new editor. We'll hopefully get that fixed in the next week or so that it isn't a problem anymore. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. We're out.
Is this when I click the thingy?
Not that one?
Yeah, no, I got it right. Go fuck yourself. Oh, I need to turn this off.
What?